Find it sleeping in its nest before it wakes up. Touch it gently, you want it feeling completely calm, so you can hold it in your palm and help it grow just like it was born to be. Come, 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 come. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Good evening, my name's Nicola Lewis and this is 111 Life. I have with me Josie Vinten and Gaynor Thompson. Now, you're all going to be wondering what we're going to be talking about, so I'm going to go straight to the matter and I'm going to start with Josie. What brings you to this podcast today and why are we doing it?
So the reason that we're starting this podcast is really to create a platform for all people interested in anything spiritual, metaphysical, psychic, supernatural, anything otherworldly, but also making it accessible, practical, and really just sharing stories and embracing each other's stories and seeing what we can learn from them. And the special thing is that we've got 3 of us, 111, who are all of different generations. We each have different talents and slightly different perspectives, and we really just want to create a community and engage with the public and show them how to embrace the spiritual in a practical and doable way.
Oh, I love that. That was superb. That sort of gives you a small summary of a big subject or big subjects that we are going to cover. So a little bit about each other. I'm going to hand that over to Gaynor. Just a little bit about you, why you've come today or why you're going to be involved in this podcast and what you're about.
Hi, I've worked for many, many years with the spirit world. How I came into it was when I was younger, say 2 or 3, I see fairies. I didn't like them, they frightened me to death. But the reason being why I did see them, because they come in as a protection. My mother was losing children. So I had my father all the time. So he would come in when I was about 3, say, and the fairies would go up my pram. And he would come in and say that I was having a nightmare. And I'd say, why are you saying I'm having a nightmare when I'm awake and I'm speaking to you? So we cut that one, and that is how I came into it. When I became 22, I then went into tarot. I met a man, Ron Wheatley, and I started up with him. And now it's history. I work as a medium, I work clairvoyantly, I do healing, I take groups, seminars, and I run retreats.
And write books. Okay, so we know why Gaynor come to tarot, or we've got an understanding of why Gaynor come to tarot. Now, Josie is into astrology, and one of the questions I'm going to give to Josie is, what on earth made you go into astrology?
So I guess just really to sum it up, I always had a sense that there was something more to life and that there was like a magic that people weren't tapping into. And then I went on in life, I did get more into the spiritual, and I was constantly looking for meanings in things. I got into law of attraction, self-help, I got into all these sort of spiritual interests, and I practiced a lot of them, but none of them really stuck. I always came back to like these sort of negative experiences or trauma or bad habits. And then really, when I found astrology, I was probably about 18. It just clicked for me and I understood it, and I really felt like that was my language. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn. And I really just found that it gave me an explanation for why things happened. And when I looked at astrology, because it just shows you a completely clear picture of everything, you know, you've got all the planets, and Pluto is a very traumatic planet, and you're never going to escape that, but you can use it in a more constructive way. There's a lower and a higher side of every planet, of every sign that you can tap into, but everyone's still got a unique way of going about things. So I think astrology is actually about self-acceptance, and I think that's what it gave to me.
I like it.
And I agree, I do agree with you there, because I mean, again, I won't go too off on a tangent, but you know, since I've known Josie, for the first time when she did my chart, you know, I've beat myself up for being a certain way within my character, but there's absolutely nothing I can do in certain aspects of my character, because mathematically I can't change how the planets are aligned. I can't change the date of my birth. I can't change the way that my genetics has been set up mathematically in a
Nobody
lot
can.
no, right? So no one can, but it's like I was trying to be like other people, but there is absolutely no way that I can be like it. But until you did my chart, and I'm 53, it's like you just are not aligned that way.
Yeah, it's like using the tools that you were personally given, and
Yeah,
everyone
and I
has
do-
a different toolbox.
Yeah. The one thing that I struggled with in my early days was groups. And my mum always knows this. I hated being in a group. I couldn't bear it. I've never fitted in. I've never really, it just didn't work for me. And even if I had somebody or a friend that come into my life and then I went into their group, and it's never worked. And it's not until my later life that I realised it's just not my way. It's not my way of carrying on. And I've found a way to carry on. And it doesn't mean to say that I can't be in a group. I love my work. I'm a great team player now. I've learned lots of things about myself to enable myself to go into that forum. But on a personal level, I wouldn't. And that was a huge an epiphany for me, because that pained me all my life. And you took that pain. So by doing that chart was very healing for me, because instead of beating myself up, I can let that go. I can accept it. I don't need to chase that rainbow anymore.
Absolutely.
I think that's the beauty of astrology, is it helps us accept ourselves and see our path clearly, and not subscribe to what other people think we should be doing.
You know, there might be some of you out there that don't understand all that, but as we go on through the series, we will focus on some of the stuff that we are mentioning, so bear with us. And we will be open to questions for people that don't understand or do understand and want to have their input that way. One of the biggest things that I really wanted to ask Josie was, although you went into astrology, I love the idea of astrology, but I know that some people just get the whole psychic energy while they're working with astrology. So do you feel that you had that psychic ability before you got the interest in astrology?
Yeah, I definitely think I do, just because I was drawn to so many spiritual topics and law of attraction, and I was very invested in the idea that we can create our own lives and follow our own paths and do what we're passionate about. So yeah, I would say I did have some like psychic experiences before that, and that definitely was a precursor to the astrology. But then when I started working with charts, astrological birth charts and things, I would just pick up things. And obviously, a lot of it is interpretation, but it can be interpreted in many different ways. So I think a huge part of it is using your intuition to know what's actually right and what bits to pick out.
So one other question I wanted to ask you is, although you're saying that you was really interested in that psychic journey, or you had a perception, just tell me something that you have experienced, or what we talked about earlier about how you recognise that there was life isn't just black and white.
What came? Well, like I've always seen faces. Do you know what I mean? And when I was younger,
In your third eye?
Yeah, I was.
Good.
When I was younger, I was scared. I was scared of them, because I'd like lay in bed at night and I'd see all these faces coming at me, and I'd feel these energies, and I was honestly scared. But like, I didn't know what it was. But it was
That's
so
a big
real
experience.
to me.
It's brilliant. Like that's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly
Yeah,
the same.
but I never, because like where you grew up with Gaynor, you know,
Yeah, but
teaching you that
faces.
this is normal.
But we get into that public.
Yeah.
There are them faces. There's people out there that are having that experience and don't know why. Where's it coming from?
Same with like colours as well.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I'd
colour.
sit and stare, and I'd see all these like.
Yeah. Well, you can see
but
it now.
I thought
You've
my
got the
eyes
green,
were
the
just
blue, and the
going
purple.
weird.
Look, green,
Yeah.
blue, purple. Yeah, come on.
I think it helps, like when you're younger, to have someone to validate those experiences. So a lot of us
I like
go
that.
through life.
So do I.
I like that.
Knowing what it is.
Thank you very much. So, Gaynor.
I didn't have any idea I was psychic. I had no idea of what I was seeing was from a different, say, dimension or what have you. But as time went on, I then, as a young girl, see an angel. And I really believed in that, because I went to a church school. And I'm not talking about a feather. I'm not talking about anything like that. I see a full-blown angel with its wings back. I now know what that means. And I did see one with their wings open. But then from all of these little experiences, I did have dreams. My mother was really, really psychic, but in a different way to how I had it. So it was coming from a different perspective. Even if coming from my mother's perspective, she was Catholic and they was not allowed to talk about these things. But then when it came to me, I really was dyslexic. I didn't read. And I feel everything in my younger days was quite stressful, but at the same time made me stronger. And then as time went on, then things opened up for me. But that's another story later.
Right, so basically we've just sort of like come off a line for a bit because we've hit a subject that we're really passionate about. So we're talking about disabilities and how sometimes when you've got a disability, another sixth sense comes in. You work in a very different outside the box, not normal run of the mill, because that's just the way of life. But what we're hitting now is Josie's past of experiences when she was younger were seeing faces, seeing colours, and sensing that there were other energies other than her around. There was a feeling of a presence. And that was really scary. Just validate that for me. That was quite scary for you. And again, Gaynor, like my mum has been talking about her experience of seeing fairies. Now, obviously, fairies are depicted as such a mythical, beautiful, angelic energy. But for her having that experience was quite frightening. I think I find it quite frightening. I've never seen anything like that before. And it wasn't how people may perceive it would be to see them. It's never how you think. It's very, very subtle. But coming back to the focus of the subject, what we're talking about is Josie's youth and my mum's youth and a bit of mine, but that's a bit different. And what we're saying to you out there is you are experiencing your children at the moment. Some of them may have a disability and then they have a gift with that. They might see things, hear things. Don't discount it, because somewhere down the wayside, they're having an experience. What do you want to say about that?
Well, this is what I want to say, because I've had many people come to me in the past that have got children and they've got make-believe friends and they play with them, or they say that they see them. They say, okay, I've got a man with me, and maybe a mother. I say to the mother, look, please show them a photo or show them something of your family that may have passed over. So now there is children out there that have past lives, because that's proven all over. There's books on it, and the children that is all over. But there's also children that just actually see the presence of spirit. There's other children that it frightens. Some love it, some talk to it. We're all different. So in where we're all different, there's some children that will be frightened. There's some children that can just talk just plainly. I had another mother and father. Another child might go in because of that, inward. So that's what you've got to be very, very careful with, is how you deal with that situation, that don't frighten the child. So the more they can explain, the more they can tell you about it, please don't say, no, it's not right, because it is right.
So to the general public, if you've got a child, if you've got an older or younger, if you've got someone in your home coming to you, saying to you that they're able to see something, sense something, smell something, please don't poo-poo it. They're having an experience. This is a forum where you can come and ask, what do we do? How do we work with that? What would that mean? Obviously, that we may not have the answers for everything, but we will try and research, we will try and explore that, we will give you our own experiences, and believe me, there's other people out there in the general public that are having that. But there are so many subjects out there, and there's so much going on in the universe at the moment where, you know, we are trying to bring love and light back into the earth, because there's so much disruption out there. Part of this 111 life is for us to bring to the general public some knowledge on maybe how they can work with life in a much easier, more subtle way, and just to explore the subjects that we know about and that we understand, and just get some light-hearted stories out there that have been of great significance, synchronicity, psychic, spiritual, and show you that there is a way to get in harmony with life.
Can I come in?
Yes.
I think what I've found over the years of doing this, there's an awful lot of people that have these experiences, different experiences, but do not understand what they're getting. They have no idea.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that are psychic. I think 95% of the people are psychic and not understanding why we're here. But it comes in many forms and guises. Like this little forum here, we've got Joe Astrology, we've got Nicola that has got knowledge of quite a lot of what we're doing. I came because of being dyslexic. I didn't read. I never read at all. I came and went into tarot at an early age. But that helped me because I'm a number person also. I work with numbers. Now, there's people out there that are really good at numbers. There's people out there that's good at English. There's people out there that are really very, very well educated. But remember this, they look so deep, they miss the point. Sometimes we've got to look from our nose. It's right in front of us and staring. And I think with the three of us at the moment, I think we three have passions here. Different experiences, different lessons, but a whole world of information.
And just to let you know, we do sound alike. This is my mother. So part of my life, well, all of my life, I've been brought up in a very spiritual forum. We've had shops, or my mum had shops, and I've worked with her. So I had access to an awful lot of metaphysical, spiritual, self-help, the whole, forum of that kind of lifestyle, and have been able to explore many subjects. But in the subjects, I've always had experiences. So I always say it's never really that I've read the book and then I've had an experience. I've always had an experience and then found a book to validate the truth of what I was experiencing. And I think we've all got that in common, because I think sometimes people can sound really good, like what you say, and they're from a book. But I can honestly say some of the experiences that we've all had are very, very real. And I believe that there's lots of you out there that are also having them experiences. But if you actually knew and had a greater understanding, those experiences are giving you foresight to go in a direction in your life that would be more wholesome. As you're aware, we have all got backgrounds in the spiritual. Mum's been a tarot reader. There's so many subjects that we've covered. I've been a reader. I've also done lots of healing, taught lots of healing. Again, so is my mum. Josie's very, very much into the same forum, but from her generation, and through your art, through your astrology. All the subjects that we're going to be covering are going to be a little bit more in depth. We'll give you a bit more of a greater understanding, because not everybody knows about the tarot, not everybody knows about astrology. But if you want to know a little bit more and have a greater insight, these are just tasters just for today. So anything that you want to know, or if there's anything that we're saying that you don't understand, again, bring those questions on. And if you have a story that you'd like to share that you feel may be relevant for you to express because you've got some kind of insight to give other people, again, please get in touch with us. Everything that happens within our lives, that's me, Nicola, Josie, Gaynor, there is always a synchronicity of events. Now, that doesn't mean to say that doesn't happen to everybody. It really does. But it's whether you're aware of it, it's whether you're tapping into that, it's whether you're interested in looking at that through life. But for me, every day has an interconnected link to my involvement on the earth plane. Yeah, so synchronicity is a major game player in the world today. And you'll find that lots of people who write books, that are talking online, there is always a stepping stone to another stepping stone to another stepping stone that brings us to a forum that we're in today. There is never anything by chance. We get introduced to people in profound ways. We see things in quite profound ways. And this is what we love right now, is that we can talk about these events and talk about this kind of stuff. And although we're not going to bring in the general public yet, because we're going to give you our story so that you get a greater insight as to really why we're here and what we're capable of, what we've achieved and what we're hoping to achieve. And Gaynor in the next series. Can you stop eating chocolate, please? 'Cause we can't have this on now. We can't be eating chocolate while we're on the air. So, in a nutshell, this has been our first series, and although there is so much to talk about, we've just kept it nice and short, just giving you a little bit of a taster and a little bit of an insight. But our next series is going to be a little bit more serious, and what we're going to be discussing is Gainer's story. And what is that about?
On past life.
It's on past life.
What I was regressed when I was 35, but it's come true in this lifetime.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about that. Be really interesting to get your feedback, whether any of you have had any inclinations in this life that you've had another life. And again, anything you don't understand, please ask questions. We will try and cover them in the next series. Please subscribe, and we look forward to you tuning in next time. Remember, 111 life. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Catch it, put it in a jar to have and to hold. To save for later, you cannot trust it to come again. To wait for you to find a pen and fill the paper with the message that